He said about divorce but never told her directly, "Get out," or anything like that. Since last year, after giving her 200,000 yuan, she's constantly had divorce on her lips, saying it over and over. Olji said that although he never had a job after marrying Yume, he never once looked down on her. It wasn't until the family received relocation compensation and he gave Yume over 200,000 yuan that things changed. From that moment on, Yume seemed like a different person. Not only did she start complaining about him every day, but she also kept bringing up divorce. In Oldya's eyes, once Yume got the 200,000, she couldn't handle it mentally and started acting out in a retaliatory way. Now, because of Yume's persistence, they're already divorced. But Yume still wants to move into his new house. This is something no one can accept, and there's no way he would let his new wife and ex-wife live under the same roof. At this point, the mediator thought Old Yu wasn't considering his son's feelings, so they began lecturing him on morals. China's marriage market is going through one of its biggest crises in modern history, and a lot of it comes down to a deep disconnect between men and women. On paper, China should not be struggling with matchmaking. There are still millions of men and women in their 20s and 30s who remain unmarried, many of whom actively want a family. Yet the reality is very different. The rising costs of housing, the pressure of financial expectations, and the mindset of many women prioritizing money, stability, and material comfort over love and genuine partnership have created a toxic atmosphere. This has left countless men frustrated, disillusioned, and in many cases, unwilling to even try anymore. What used to be a private personal choice has become a full-blown social issue that is fueling growing resentment between the genders. What kind of women should men never get involved with? Remember this. No matter how desperate you are for a woman, don't touch these two types or you'll end up unlucky. First, women whose eyes are full of money. To them, money is everything. Whoever has money, that's who they'll be with. There's no real affection at all. Second, promiscuous women. These women juggle many men at the same time with no sense of loyalty. All they offer is a dirty body. The rest is just lies from their mouths, and secrets they'll never reveal. The shift in values didn't happen overnight. For decades, Chinese families believed strongly in marriage as the ultimate goal of adulthood. A man without a wife was considered incomplete, and a woman who never married was seen as a failure. Parents would often pressure their children heavily to marry by their mid to late 20s. This cultural pressure still exists, but what has changed is the criteria. Today, many women no longer view love or emotional compatibility as the foundation of marriage. Instead, they focus heavily on financial security, real estate, social status, and whether the man can provide them a better quality of life. The infamous bride price culture, where a man must pay a large sum of money to the bride's family, has only made this worse. In some regions, the cost of getting married is so outrageously high that even men with decent jobs can't meet the requirements. Even if a man is desperate for a woman, he should never get involved with this kind of woman. A woman whose heart and eyes are only filled with money will bring misfortune to anyone who touches her. In her eyes, money is the only thing that matters. She has no real feelings and will never sincerely talk about love with you. Whoever has money is the one she'll be destined to be with. The housing market plays a central role in this crisis. In many parts of China, a man without an apartment is almost automatically disqualified in the dating scene. Families of potential brides expect the groom's side to buy a home before marriage. This expectation is rooted in the traditional idea that a husband must provide stability. But with skyrocketing housing prices in cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, this demand is almost impossible for ordinary men to meet. As a result, men feel trapped. They spend years working, saving, or taking on massive loans to afford property, only to realize that women see them as little more than a walking wallet. Instead of being chosen for who they are, they're being judged on the size of their bank accounts. This is where resentment has started to boil over. Many men openly complain online that marriage is nothing more than a transaction now. They argue that love, trust, and companionship have been replaced by negotiations over cars, apartments, and salaries. Social media platforms like Weibo and Douyin are full of viral posts from men mocking materialistic women who demand luxury bags, houses, or high salaries while offering very little in return. At the same time, Women defend their stance by saying that they simply want security and a comfortable life, and that in a country as competitive as China, love alone isn't enough to survive. The clash between these two perspectives is creating a gender war unlike anything China has seen before. No matter how desperate a man is for women, he should never touch these two kinds of women. Whoever does will suffer, believe it or not. First, the woman whose eyes are filled only with money. In her eyes, money is everything. There is no such thing as genuine feelings. She won't talk about love with you, because whoever has money is the one she will be drawn to. Second, the promiscuous woman. Such a woman will juggle many men at the same time, with no sense of loyalty. All she has is a filthy body, a mouth full of lies, and secrets she cannot reveal. The statistics reflect this tension. The marriage rate in China has been declining steadily over the past decade, with fewer couples registering marriages every year. Divorce rates have gone up as well, which only deepens the fear among men that even if they do sacrifice everything to meet financial demands, the marriage could still end with them losing half of what they worked for. Some men are choosing not to marry at all, joining a growing group often referred to as lying flat bachelors. These men openly reject the expectations of society, refusing to buy homes, refusing to pursue high-pressure careers, and most importantly, refusing to participate in a marriage system they believe is rigged against them. This refusal has further fueled hostility from women. Many women complain that men are becoming lazy, unambitious, and unwilling to provide. They accuse men of giving up too easily, of not wanting to take responsibility, and of being bitter simply because they cannot compete financially. But from the men's side, the argument is simple. Why should they put in years of sacrifice for a woman who does not value them as individuals? Why should marriage feel like a business deal where the man pays up front and hopes the other side stays satisfied? Even older generations are starting to notice the change. Parents who once believed their children would carry on the tradition of marriage and family are now shocked to see their sons refusing blind dates or rejecting the matchmaking markets known as marriage corners. At these public parks, parents often advertise their children's profiles: height, age, income, job, and whether or not they own property. But more and more men are refusing to participate, saying that they don't want to be reduced to a resume defined by salary and assets. This divide is not only cultural, but also emotional. Many men feel that no matter how hard they try, they will never be enough because the bar keeps moving higher. If they buy an apartment, then the question becomes whether they own a car. If they have a car, then the question becomes how much they earn annually. If they earn enough, then the concern shifts to how generous they are with gifts. The constant cycle of financial demands leaves men feeling drained and unappreciated. Instead of seeing marriage as a partnership, they see it as a one-sided investment. On the other side, women insist that their demands are justified because life in China is genuinely expensive. The cost of raising children, paying for education, and competing in society is immense. They argue that without financial stability, love will eventually collapse under pressure. This argument resonates with many urban women who have seen friends and relatives struggle in marriages where money was tight. Still, the way this expectation is expressed often comes across as cold and transactional, fueling the perception that love has been completely replaced by materialism. The truth is, both sides have valid points, but neither side seems willing to compromise. This is why the marriage market in China is in such disarray. The more women demand financial security, the more men feel devalued. The more men push back or withdraw, the more women accuse them of being irresponsible. This cycle feeds resentment, and the longer it continues, the harder it becomes to repair the relationship between the genders.